Now then, Matt Hearn, Wake Up WA's money mentor, has been, over the last few weeks, telling us about the 3 C's of money management. We've learned a little bit more about how to make our money grow and work for us instead of working so hard for our money. But today we're sort of ducking off sideways into a little bit of a side question here. Should we be doing all this work ourselves, or should we get someone else to do it? To tell us all about it and to make sure we are on the right track, we're joined now by our money mentor, Matt Hearn. Good morning, Matt.
Morning, Jason. G'day, Anita.
G'day. I was giving you a hard time for being late and you're already here.
Oh, I was, that's right. Watching you from outside.
So, well, thank you for joining us, as you always do on this.
Always my pleasure.
Now then, there's so many ads in the papers, and obviously you've been speaking yourself about taking control of your finances and things, but the things on the ads and the commercials on TV and you see for all these investment systems, it almost seems to give the impression that you should be going out there and do it yourself. But is it wise to be at home in your pyjamas running your financial issues, or does there come a time when you need to hand over to a professional?
Yeah, certainly, and that's probably one of the greatest myths, is that the best way to create wealth is to sit at home in your pyjamas doing it all yourself. But really, the answer to your question is it's both, and it's actually not an either-or question. You don't either do it all yourself or either fully outsource. It's actually a continuum. There are some options in between where you partially do some of it yourself and partially outsource it. And so it's not an either-or. You can do some of it yourself, and that's choosing the best way to do it yourself really is what's appropriate for you. There is no best way that's applicable to everybody.
But Matt, how do you know? Like, how do you know to say, okay, I can do this myself, but I need an expert for this? So how can somebody, is there a sort of a checklist?
Absolutely there is. In fact, well, there always is with me. I love checklists and processes. But it's a beautiful question, because how do you know whether to do it yourself? Because we do try to make it sound really easy here on Wake Up WA. There's 3 elements that you would need if you want to do it all yourself and be fully active in it. You need time, you need the energy or the interest in doing it yourself, and you also need the knowledge on how to do it yourself.
So the first one I'm a bit iffy about.
Yeah, and so there we go. We've got 3 elements there. So if you've got all of those 3 elements, time, knowledge and energy, then you can go fully active.
Right, okay. Is there any way that we could maybe reschedule our life so we can actually fit in all of that? Because the time thing, I mean, I'd love to sit down at home and just, you know, reorganise all my finances, say, yep, I know exactly what's going on. But for somebody who does have a busy lifestyle, who's thinking of that, how can they find more time, do you think? Well,
the reality is they probably can't. And the next question is, do they really want to? Because that's where the energy part comes into it. If they're busy already doing what they love, why would they try to find the time to cut down something they love to do something they don't love as much? So people don't usually love doing their money as much as their normal regular job, for example. So they would love to. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you need money sometimes so you can organise your money. So usually you're busy working.
It does seem counterproductive to take time out of work and out of your schedule to go and focus on making your money work for you, when what you're actually doing is reducing the amount of money you're getting by taking that time off.
Yeah, and that's where the continuum of partially outsourcing comes into it. So if you don't have the knowledge, the time, or the energy, then you definitely need to fully outsource. And even if you've only got one, like if you've got lots of time on your hands, but you're not really interested in that particular aspect of managing your money and you don't have the knowledge, then fully outsource as well. So the key trick here, and what this particular graphic is trying to show, is that if you've only got 2 of the elements, that's where you can look at partially doing some of it yourself, but then also outsourcing a little bit. So here, for example, if you know what you're doing in a particular area, so you've got the knowledge and you're really interested in it, what you really need to do is find some time. And the way you do that is you outsource to somebody who's got time. So you hire someone who maybe is an assistant or a PA. So they don't have the knowledge, but they can act under your instructions. So you're hiring someone. So that's where the red hire comes into it.
I think so. On the side that you do have those 2 attributes, that's the thing in red you need to create to get what's on the other side.
Absolutely.
So we'll put that back up again in a second. So, for example, I've got a little bit of knowledge, I've got a little bit of time, I've got a lot of energy. So therefore, I should be looking to get someone else to, give me a bit more knowledge, but inspire me to get motivated.
Yeah, so have you got a lot of energy for making money? Is that what you're saying?
A lot of energy for having money, the actual making of it in the first place? No.
Well, what you probably need to do is, because you've got a lot of one and a little bit of both, is you probably need to use the time to acquire more knowledge. So what you need to do is acquire knowledge or learn. That's another way to phrase it.
So should there be a goal to get to a certain point where you have a minimum amount of personal input into your own financial well-being? I mean, or is it just literally a sliding scale and it's what horses for courses?
Absolutely, it is literally horses for courses, because if you want to have some input, then you really need energy. If you don't have the energy for it, then you almost need to totally outsource. The final point of outsourcing, I would say, is at least have an overview. It's when you totally hand over and don't keep your eye on it that it really gets into trouble. And here, an example comes to mind of Billy Joel. Billy Joel was ripped off by multi-millions of dollars by his personal manager in the 90s. Because he handed everything over to his manager. In fact, there's a quote from Billy Joel saying that when his manager Frank Webber used to explain money to him, his eyes glazed over and he used to tune out. So if you don't want to get to that stage when you're outsourcing, you want to keep some hand into it, but it really is a sliding scale and find out the level of input that you really are comfortable with.
Now, Matt, this doesn't mean anyone can do this, right? So
Absolutely.
you don't have to be working full-time 5-6 days a week in order to apply this. What about students? You know, students who maybe only have a part-time job, they just tend to want to go out there and spend their money. Should they be applying concepts like this to maybe save a little bit or get motivated or inspired to, you know, work towards this or not?
Absolutely. This model is designed to help them know where to spend that precious energy that they've got. So students generally have more time on their hands. So what they should do is acquire more knowledge. So they should be investing that energy and that time into acquiring more knowledge. Because like Jason, you said that you've got a little bit of knowledge and actually people totally underestimate the level of knowledge that is required. So for someone who's got all three, time, energy and knowledge, an example of that is a professional investor who does it full-time for their job every single day. And some professional investors, in fact, a good half of them probably don't make much money out of it. So really, if you haven't done all the postgraduate studies and don't do it full time, what makes you think you can do better than a professional? So that's really the level of knowledge that people need to think is about. It's not a little bit of knowledge, it's a lot of knowledge that you really need to do it full time.
If you're building a bench in your workshop out the back, you can probably knock it together. If you want your kitchen renovated, probably better off getting someone in who knows what they're doing.
Great example.
Similar sort of thing. So whereas I can bludge around with my $10 and try and turn it into $15 one day, pie in the sky stuff. If you've actually got a decent sort of size infrastructure base to deal with, and you've got a or you want to turn something meagre into something useful, it does make perfect sense to get someone on board who spends their life doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're just starting out, and I know you often ask these beautiful questions about just starting out, which is great. Where do you invest that time and little precious of money? And sometimes it is in doing, maybe reviewing some of the segments that we've done on the 3 Cs, because that's where you would spend the small amount of money, is doing the little simple things that we've talked about already, or spending your time learning how to do that. So if you're a student and you've got some time but not much money, then what you can do with that money is, if you've got $30, you can buy a book. So you can't maybe afford $300 an hour to hire a financial advisor, but you can afford $30 to buy a book, which will mean that you can use your time to do it. A financial advisor will tell you exactly what's in that book and what's right for you in that 1 hour. So that's the difference in the use of your time and your money. So they're all trade-offs, and the model's designed to help you know where to spend your energy and your time.